Hi, and welcome to New Agent Mindset. This is the episode where everything changed, hopefully for the good. And in this episode, we're right before Halloween, and I got my early Halloween scare in, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So I've decided to pivot this channel from trying to help new real estate agents out by talking about what new real estate agents, should know, mistakes they could possibly make, all of that, which I think is a noble cause, and the website will still aim to do that. But I think for the channel and the podcast, I'm going to tell my story as a new real estate agent. I'm going to personalize it because I started with this in episode 1, Facts Tell, Stories Sell, and I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me this week, and I think it'll shed some light on my decision. So if you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. And my name is John Pena. I live in El Paso, Texas. I've been a real estate agent for not a year, I'd say about just over 8 months. So this week I had a situation with my wife, whom I love dearly. However, we found ourselves at a kind of like a dark intersection, or kind of a moment of conflict or unease, right? And it really forced me to sort of step back from my work life and take a bigger picture of my life in general. And what I realized are a number of things. One is that in the last episode I was talking, I think kind of proudly, about this idea how I have this kind of 10-hour jam-packed week from 7:30 to 5:30. I get up and I do all these things, and man, I got it figured out. Well, that was foolish of me to think, because it turns out that I was working about 60 hours, I figured out, on average per week, and the bottom line short story is that about 6 of those hours were actually productive. The other 54, not so much. And they were putting me in a situation where I wasn't taking care of and loving the things that are most important to me: my wife, my family, my friends, and also my clients that I have now sort of won, so to speak. So if you've been following this channel, you know that I haven't had more than one transaction, and that was a transaction on the purchase of my home. And fortunately for me, even though it took 6 months to figure out, fortunately for me, I created this YouTube channel, and it has essentially provided all of my clients, right? So, and now I'm very happy with the position that I'm in, but I've been so focused on this idea of generating more leads, prospect hard, figure this out, do this well, kill this, be successful, that I forgot, and dare I say, started to neglect the clients that I do have, right? And the insane thing is that my motto that I've sort of created for Pena El Paso real estate is above and beyond. That I'm going to go above and beyond for my clients, provide the highest quality of care. Above, I'm going to do more. Beyond, I'm going to stay with you longer. Yet, here I was doing this kind of crazy 10-hour busy day and neglecting those actual clients, neglecting my real job of going above and beyond for clients. So I'm glad that I had this realization and just didn't keep blindly going down this path. But what it helped me understand is that I've read this in a Tom Ferry PDF. You can get it for free. Being busy isn't the same as being productive, or I don't know, he says it better than I do, but being busy doesn't necessarily mean that you're being successful, that you're doing things that are going to have results that are meaningful for you. Being busy sometimes is just an excuse for us to appease our ego and feel like we're working hard, that we're hustling, right? But this brings me to the next point. I've heard this a lot, you've probably heard this a lot. It's something called Pareto Principle, P-A-R-E-T-O, and it's the idea that essentially an observation of the world, it can be said that 80% of the outcomes are due to 20% of the work. I have this written down. Pause, tape, here. All right, yeah, for many events, it's not even another mic. So for 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. Some other examples: 20% of the input creates 80% of the result. 20% of the workers produce 80% of the product. 20% of the customers create 80% of the revenue, right? So this is kind of a rough guide about typical distributions. And this is just spot on exactly what has happened in my business. 80% of my results, my clients, have come from 20% of the work, that YouTube channel. I have not spent my time, I have not committed, of those 60 hours a week, definitely maybe 20% I committed to the YouTube channel. That other 80% were things that weren't having any result. They weren't having any noticeable outcomes. So if Pareto's principle applies, which I believe it does, 80% of that busy work I was doing really isn't jack squat. It's basically time where I was just being busy, chasing shiny objects and succumbing to the pressure to be everywhere and do everything, right? Awesome podcast if you want to check it out. Matt Johnson, Micro Famous, I believe it is. The guy is way smarter than me, and he has an episode exactly about this idea. But this is what I was doing. And so all I can say is, wow, now I kind of understand why, 85% of new real estate agents fail, because you're on your own, bud, right? It's so easy to just stumble and make mistakes, and it's such a long game that you need to play. You need to be consistent. You need to do the right things over time, not just once, right? You need to do the right thing consistently over time. So that's what I'm thinking of switching the channel to. My story, I'm going to make a ton of mistakes, but hopefully you can learn from those mistakes, or you'll at least find the insights that I have. If you found them useful, that would be fantastic. So I've decided for my business. Now, I haven't just decided to give up on, I'll tell you what that 80% is of the time that I think I was wasting. That 80% of time I was wasting as a real estate agent was doing all these other social media platforms. I've talked about this idea of being a lighthouse, right? I did not get this idea. These are from my mentors, Mike Sherrard. You should check him out. He is awesome. Connor Steinbrook, awesome. Both have YouTube channels. But this lighthouse strategy is, I'm trying to put myself out there where people can find me and they'll come to me. That is exactly what this YouTube channel does. It kills it. Living in El Paso, Texas, it's where all my business is coming from. Because if you're moving to El Paso, Texas, you're gonna know who I am. You're gonna type it into YouTube or Google, and eventually, if you do it in YouTube, the first result is gonna be me telling you why I moved, and hey, I happen to be a real estate agent. This is where all my business is coming from. That other 80% was me trying to limp along my Facebook page, limp along a Pinterest thing, try to figure out what to do on Instagram, which I'm not giving up on. I'm just slow and can't figure out. Doing my LinkedIn personal profile and a little LinkedIn business page. For this, New Agent Mindset, Facebook group. Since I started this Facebook group that I invited all of you to, there's been one person who's wanted to join the group, and I looked at them and they're not even a real estate agent. I don't know what they just want to be in Facebook groups, like that's their thing. So I'm gonna can that. I'm not gonna put my time into all of that. with this thing. I was doing a podcast only episode on Tuesdays where I take a lesson from a book and talk about it. And then on Friday, I was doing a video lesson where I pick a topic. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just gonna focus on one video a week and see if I have anything useful to say. So there you have it. My early Halloween scare. The big takeaway, if you've made it this far, it's a miracle. But the big takeaway on this is that what's the most important thing to you? What's the most important thing to me, to all of us? It's time. The time from when we are born until the time that we die. That is our most valuable thing in life for me, and I would guess for most people, right? Because once you die, who knows what happens, right? We can speculate all we want, but the moment from birth to death, that is your time. This is a corny analogy, but I couldn't help thinking of it. It reminds me of, like in video games, you used to get like 3 players, right? And you could lose 1 life and then you had 2 lives left, but once you lost those 3 lives, that's it, your quarter is done. You have to put in more money. We're like one of those lives, right? That brief little second, for some people it's short, for some people it's longer. Nobody knows, right? That's your most important thing. And so when I was going crazy doing this 60-hour work week that wasn't producing jack squat other than about 6 of those hours, I was neglecting my relationship with my wife. I was neglecting myself in that I wasn't spending time on things that I like doing. Like I like playing music, and I'm going to talk about how I'm going to try to incorporate that into my business, because again, this guy Matt Johnson talked about this idea about these new entrepreneurs. We want to make money, but we want to build wealth doing something that we enjoy, right? Being creative. Some of us have that creative drive. This guy was a musician. I'm a musician. People want to be able to create. Like I find great joy in making music and playing music.
Hey, I'm dressed up like a little guy who hates. God damn it, every time.
What if I could incorporate that into my real estate business? My thought now is that I've talked about this idea of a sphere of influence, the people that know, like, and trust you. Once I meet somebody, I have no problem getting them to like me and to trust me. The trick is getting people to know you, right? So how do you get people to know you? Nowadays, a lot of that can be done via social media. So can I use my musicianship, my creative side, to win eyeballs, right? Getting people to know me? I hope so, right? But I didn't have the time to do it because I was doing all this other garbage that, quite honestly, wasn't very productive. So I feel like this is a rambling episode, but this is a pivot episode. If you're a new real estate agent, the only thing I got for you is go to newagentmindset.com, check it out. There's some articles on there. If you reach out to me, I'll certainly do anything I can. But for the most part, you're on your own, just like all of us. And I'm going to focus a little bit more on my story and try to help people out by sharing what's happened to me. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time. I stared outside at the cold at the start while you chattered on about your love for guitar. Your dad saddled by said, son, don't wander far. And that's when I knew you offered my arm. Take me to stay in your mind for an hour. Show me the mood when you're battered and sour. slip off the stage, spreading blame and some doubt. Stand with your hat down, brim to the ground.